Welcome back to part 3 of our cross-country road trip from Michigan to California. Just to catch you up to speed on where we are so far, we traveled from Michigan to Des Moines, Iowa, from Des Moines, Iowa, all the way out to Cheyenne, Wyoming, then over to Salt Lake City. We made a quick pit stop into Reno, Nevada, and now we've finally arrived into California. Our first stop is Yosemite National Park. When I first saw El Capitan in the Half Dome in Yosemite, I gasped. The views really don't do it justice on this video. In person, they're absolutely enormous, and it was pretty remarkable to see it up close. Too bad it's just me. All right, let's do this. They want to leave already. Guys, come back! Come back here! Come here! Good job! Good job! After a couple days in Yosemite, we got back into the car for the trek up to Mount Shasta. I gotta say, as beautiful as Yosemite was, I think Mount Shasta has my heart. It took me about, I would say, an hour to get here, but it's so worth the view. I mean, look at that. Mount Shasta is a very spiritual place, especially if you have past lives in Lemuria, which I have had several, and I've always felt a deep connection to Lemuria, even though I'm pretty sure I've had lifetimes in Atlantis as well. There's something about Lemuria that just resonates for me quite a bit, and as soon as I read about it, I was like, oh, I definitely lived there. And so ever since finding out the connection between Mount Shasta and Lemuria, I've been wanting to visit, and it's definitely been worth the wait. This view is unbelievable. And so I think I'm going to take some time and meditate while I'm here. I probably sat here alone on this peak overlooking Mount Shasta and the valley for a couple hours, completely by myself. It was incredible. And I'm going to be honest, I really didn't want to leave. Eventually, I did make my long climb down, and unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to Mount Shasta so that we could make our way over to the Redwoods, which is our last stop of the national parks. This is the incredible Airbnb that we stayed at for a couple days with this gorgeous courtyard overlooking the ocean. I finally made it to the ocean. It's incredible. This is what Dan really wanted to see, the Redwood National Park. One thing that I've learned from the trees is that they are souls just like we are. And they choose to have this experience, which is quite different from ours. Because we're mobile, we are both affecting and being affected by the changing of our environment constantly, and dealing with that constant shift in frequency is a very different experience than what they have, which is very stationary. And they are affecting their environment and also being affected by their environment, but it's happening at a much slower pace. And because they're stationary, because they don't move, they're experiencing it very differently. The effect that they have on the energy around them is much greater than I think that we give them credit for. And this is because their roots run so deep. Just think about for a second how big these trees are and how much tree you're seeing above the ground. And that probably pales into comparison to what's beneath the ground that we're walking on, with their roots being so big, having to hold up this mass of energy. And something that the trees taught me is that the greater the roots are, the further down they go, the wider they spread, the taller they can grow and the stronger they are. And this is representative of their sense of self. The more grounded inside of the earth, the more grounded inside of who they are. And that is ultimately what we are here to learn from them, is how to be grounded inside of our sense of self. And the more grounded we are inside of who we are, the more centered we are inside of who we are, the more powerful we become energetically. And that is really what they're here to show us through demonstration and through felt sense, which is why when you're in nature, you pick up on that. All of a sudden, you become focused and you become clear and you become calm, and all of this insight and inspiration comes to you. It affects you because they're reminding you to come back to you over and over and over again. This is actually a very chatty bunch. They've been talking to me since I got here. I think they're very excited to be sharing their wisdom, and they're noticing that I'm passing it through to you. And so they just keep sharing more and more things with me. And something that they told me that I wasn't aware of is that they're actually very aware of their multidimensionality in the way that we aren't. And so they are experiencing more than one reality at once, where we're very much anchored into this reality of ourselves. We're not very aware of other spaces and times as we're existing inside of this one. And they are operating on a different frequency where they can experience more than one reality at a time. And so this is just one of the many experiences that they're having at this singular point in time. And because their roots go deep into the earth, it creates this sort of network of communication where they share their experiences with each other. And so it creates this sense of oneness a lot more than we experience, only because we're not aware that it's possible for us to. But again, the more grounded inside of our sense of self that we are, the more our roots are dug deep into the earth, the more we become aware of our oneness as well and can share that energy and those experiences with one another. Well, that concludes our national park adventure, and we will see you at our next stop in San Francisco.